Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our midday briefing. Before we start with your questions, let me share some announcements. First of all, because it's Friday, I would like to share with you the agenda of President von der Leyen for the coming days, starting with Sunday. On Sunday, the President will receive Prabowo Subianto, President of the Republic of Indonesia. The two presidents will deliver statements at the VIP corner around 1 p.m. following their meeting, and the statements will also be broadcast live on EBS. Now, moving to next week, on Monday, President von der Leyen will meet Nikol Pashinyan, Prime Minister of Armenia, together with the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa. On Tuesday, the President will receive the delegation of Fianna Fáil members of the European Parliament. On Wednesday, it's time for the college meeting that President von der Leyen will chair as usual. Finally, on Thursday, the President will be in Reykjavik, in Iceland. There she will meet Kristrún Frostadóttir, Prime Minister of Iceland. She will also meet the Icelandic Association for Search and Rescue and visit the Naval Air Keflavik. That's all for the agenda of the President. Je me permets maintenant d'attirer votre attention sur la réunion des ministres de l'Environnement de l'Union européenne qui a lieu aujourd'hui à Aalborg, au Danemark. La commissaire Jessica Rosvall y participe pour la Commission et l'ordre du jour comprend, parmi d'autres sujets, des discussions sur la politique climatique européenne au-delà de 2030, ainsi que les préparatifs lors des prochaines négociations des Nations Unies sur un accord relatif à la pollution plastique. La commissaire Rosvall participe à la conférence de presse qui suivra la réunion, qui, d'après nos dernières informations, devrait avoir lieu vers 13 heures, donc après ce midday. Là, comme d'habitude, je vous invite à garder vos questions sur ces sujets pour cette conférence de presse. Finally, I would like to draw your attention to the statement of President von der Leyen that we published this morning, marking 30 years since the Srebrenica genocide, one of the darkest chapters in Europe's collective memory. It should not go forgotten. That is all from us, and we can now move to your questions. Oui. À ton côté, et après je reviens sur toi.
Bonjour Paola, j'ai une question pour Anouar.
Oui.
Sur le communiqué qui a été publié hier par Madame sur l'accord avec Israël. J'aurais souhaité savoir un peu plus quel serait le rôle de l'Union européenne sur le terrain, parce qu'il est dit dans le communiqué que l'Union européenne est prête à coordonner entre les différentes parties humanitaires sur le terrain. Est-ce qu'il y a une nouvelle structure qui sera créée, une nouvelle équipe qui sera sur place? S'agit-il de EBAM Rafah? Je voudrais ces clarifications pratiques, si vous voulez bien. Merci.
Merci Noureddine. Donc on commence avec Affaires extérieures et Anouar.
Bonjour, merci pour la question. Quand il s'agit de l'accord et de la déclaration que dont vous avez tous pris connaissance hier, je ne vais pas pouvoir rentrer dans les détails, mais quand il s'agit de la question qui a été posée par Noureddine sur plusieurs plans, s'agissant d'Iubam Rafah, les discussions sont en cours, donc je ne vais ni préjuger ni spéculer de quelque manière que ce soit quand il s'agit de la suite des opérations. en termes d'aide sur le terrain. Donc, comme nous l'avons annoncé dans la déclaration, l'Union européenne travaillera main dans la main et coordonnera son action avec tous les acteurs humanitaires concernés, les agences des Nations Unies et les ONG présentes sur le terrain afin d'assurer la mise en œuvre rapide de ces mesures urgentes.
Merci. Noureddine, tu as une question de suivi?
Anouar, parmi ces acteurs humanitaires, j'imagine, si je comprends bien, vous excluez cette organisation qui s'appelle Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, qui, dans son activité, l'ONU a dit aujourd'hui que 791 Palestiniens ont été tués en cherchant de l'aide, en essayant d'avoir de l'aide humanitaire. J'imagine que cette organisation n'est pas comptée parmi les acteurs humanitaires sur le terrain.
Tout à fait. La Fondation humanitaire de Gaza ne fait absolument pas partie des organisations qui font l'objet de cette déclaration. Donc c'est très clair.
Okay. Alors, je sais, Mose, you have signaled also questions on this topic online.
Yes, thank you, Paula. I also have 2 or 3 follow-up questions to what Noreen asked Anwar about. The first question is to Anwar, if you know if this agreement, which was announced by Kallas yesterday, if it is conditional or part of the ceasefire and hostage deal, which hasn't been agreed yet. And furthermore, I would like to know, Anwar, if you know if the agreement has at all been signed by Israel and the EU, or if just for the time being is a verbal agreement. And thirdly, not the least, when do you think it will start to be implemented on the ground? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mose. So this agreement has been reached with Israel. This is clear. And this is the result of the dialogue that has been launched by the High Representative with the Foreign Minister Sarr, as she had herself outlined at the end of the last Foreign Affairs Council. So this is the result of this dialogue at her level, together with the efforts on the ground that have been led by a team with great competence, led by the EU Special Representative Christophe Bigot. And we count on Israel to implement every measure agreed in this agreement.
Very good. Still on Foreign Affairs, to Anwar in the back there. Yes, you.
Hi, it's Rosie Birchard for DW. Still on this topic. Have you seen any impact of this agreement already in the past 24 hours? And secondly, the High Representative told Bloomberg yesterday that she had agreed a concrete number of trucks with Israel, but in the statement it just says a substantial increase. So why aren't you sharing those numbers, and can you share them now? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will refrain from going into any details as to, how many trucks, how many crossings, and so forth and so on, because the deal has now been reached and we are now in the implementation phase. That being said, what have we seen on the ground? We have seen already some elements that Israel has been delivering on, such as the opening of the Zikim crossing in the north, entry of fuel, authorization to UNICEF to repair water pipes, together with the opening of the Jordanian route. So this is what we can actually see on the ground in terms of deliverables.
Okay. Still on this subject?
Sorry, if I can ask another follow-up. Could you give us a sense of diplomatic efforts undertaken? How could you manage to convince Israel? Did you tell them actions the EU could take if it did not send in more aid? Any information you can share would be useful to understand. How did you convince Israel? How did it finally agree to send more, open more crossings?
How did we manage? The response is clear. Through the High Representative. This is diplomacy in action. This is the High Representative in action. Through her political contacts with the Israeli Foreign Minister, and also together with our team led by great competence by the EU Special Representative Christophe Bigot. And this is diplomacy in action that we have been believing in and that we see now bearing fruits.
Okay. Yeah, Diego?
Thank you. It's a question on the same topic, but not on the situation on the ground, but on the preparation for the Foreign Affairs meeting of next week. Since we saw it in various media that the High Representative has prepared a list of actions that could be taken to put up more pressure on the Israeli government, I just want to you to walk us through on procedures, because I wonder which actions could be decided by unanimity, which would require a qualified majority, and which could be just be taken at member state level. If you could just give us an idea of what the different decision processes for the options are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Nice try again. You wanted the process and the next step. The next step is clear, is the next Foreign Affairs Council. And between now and then, I will refrain from commenting, because discussion will take place in the Foreign Affairs Council, and we will take it from there.
Yeah, so once we have the outcome of the Foreign Affairs Council, then it's worth going into what are the concrete options on the on the table, Diego. So we'll elaborate then. Still on foreign affairs? Yes, please.
Hi, Jack Power from the Irish Times. Just a further clarification on the aid agreement. So in terms of the trucks that it has been agreed will now be entering Gaza, will they be entirely separate in terms of the mechanism for the delivery of that aid? Will that be entirely separate to the current system that Israel is running in connection with the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that I have been already clear on the matter. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is not part of the agreement and not part of the organizations that actually will be delivering the aid. We are clear enough when we said that actually the aid will go through the UN agencies together with the NGOs that are present on the ground, at the exception of the one that you have mentioned.
Good. Any other questions still on foreign affairs to Anwar? I have one question online from Yossi Lemkovic.
Yes, hello. Thank you. I have a question regarding the statement yesterday by High Representative Kallas. It mentioned Hamas in the statement, and my question is, how will the EU monitor that Hamas is not stealing, as always, the humanitarian aid, the food that is distributed by UN organization or other aid groups? Thank you.
Thank you. See, I will not be able to go and to delve into the micro and the details in terms of that angle, but we have been clear that measures will continue to be taken to ensure that there is no aid diversion to Hamas. So the common political will is there, and we will work in that direction.
Good. And I think we conclude questions on this topic. Any other question on foreign affairs? Nope. Then we can move on. Yes, please.
Question for Anna Kaiser. On the EU-China climate dialogue, my question would be, given the fact that the Daily News suggests that there will be additional information in the commissioners' calendars, and it isn't, my question would be, can you say more on what you will share with the Chinese counterparts, particularly when it comes to the process on our nationally determined contribution, and what level of ambition we will convey to them there?
Thank you very much. So absolutely, yes, I can confirm that Climate Commissioner Hoekstra will be there this weekend and beginning of next week as well. I do not have anything particular to confirm as regards what will be shared with the Chinese counterparts. It is a sixth meeting that will take place, a high-level dialogue, and basically both parties, of course, are preparing for COP in Belém in November. So obviously this will be discussed, our common interests, where we are, and how to move forward. But I do not have anything specific to raise.
You may see, Nicholas, that in our daily news there's some more details on the announcements part regarding this meeting in China in the coming days. Good. Other questions for Anna Kaiser? So Nicholas, still follow up?
Are there any press activities or press communications planned after the meeting?
I cannot confirm anything at this stage. We'll stay in touch on that.
Keep you posted. Yes, please.
Thanks. Finbar Birmingham from the South China Morning Post. Are you expecting a joint statement on climate after that high-level dialogue? Thank you.
We, at this stage, focus on the dialogue and take it from there.
Yeah. So no decisions, basically, on terms of communication after the event. We'll see closer when we are there. Other questions to Anna Kaiser on climate, energy or transport? I have two questions online. Please put down your hands if they are not for Anna Kaiser. They seem to be. So, Eleonora Rinaldi, please.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, my question was actually fairly similar to the last question. So we just read the announcement that there will be this sixth high-level meeting high-level environmental and climate dialogue between the EU and China. Does that mean that the likelihood of having a joint declaration at the end of the EU and China summit at the end of July is higher now? Does that mean that we'll have a joint declaration after all on climate cooperation?
We take that one because actually these are two totally separate meetings, right? So the high-level dialogues next week are one thing. The summit at the end of the month is a different one. So no direct link and certainly not in terms of possible communications, declarations, statements. Other questions for Anna Kaiser? Yes, so I have still Tommaso Galavotti.
Yes, good afternoon. Many thanks for the floor. It's just a curiosity about the climate law amendment which was presented last week, because you have prepared a very detailed impact assessment. I have seen, but I have not been able to find, and I checked the Annex 14, which is dedicated to the issue, to the matter. If you have an estimate of how many jobs will be lost due to this choice of accelerating the climate transition, and how many would be gained in the EU, because I couldn't find anything else that vague assumptions about an increase in the employment in the service sector. Do you have an assessment of how many jobs will be lost and how many will be gained for this choice? Many thanks.
Detailed question. I wonder whether Anna Kaiser.
Well, for sure, I do not have these numbers off the cuff like this. But you mean that whether we have a more specific figure than what you saw in the Annex 14 of the impact assessment to the climate law? Because I'm afraid that if we do that we put the most specific and detailed information that we have on hand, it will be already included in the material that we publish and adopt together with the proposal. So I am afraid that we do not have such a number-specific detail of this, but can show. I mean, I do not myself now remember by heart, and this is my bad. I will study it during the weekend. I do not remember by heart what it says in the Annex 14 on the job creation, but obviously the purpose of the exercise of the climate law and of our clean transition policies is to increase employment and quality jobs in Europe for the benefit of the citizens as well as for the industry.
And actually, if we look into the creation of jobs by the clean transition, by the energy transition, there are clear figures out there. Again, not from the top of our head, but it's the business case for the transition is clearly out there and underpinned by very positive figures. Other questions to Anna Kaiser? This does not seem to be the case. Thank you, Anna Kaiser. We change topics and we go there in the back.
Hi, good afternoon. Gunnar Verhelst for Politico. Question for Olaf. No surprises, I guess.
Expecting today any questions for Olaf?
It's D-Day after all, so.
Is it?
I want to ask you about negotiations with the US. I guess one final chance before Monday your retaliation will be kicking in. I'm wondering if you can give us any updates on your expectations for today or over the weekend potentially. Thank you.
I think it's you who's going to give us a background briefing this time. Olaf, what can we say?
Thanks, Paula. Thanks for your question, Kuhn. Nothing major to add compared to yesterday. We remain, on our side, fully locked and loaded to conclude an agreement in principle with the US. I don't have any update to indicate that is going to happen imminently. Let's see what happens when our friends in Washington wake up in a few hours from now. And concerning your question about the first list of EU countermeasures, which are currently suspended, for which the suspension is due to end on Monday. I don't want you all to get too excited about this. Basically, if a political decision is made to extend the suspension, then we'll extend the suspension. There's no difficulty doing that. The important thing for you to keep in mind is that should we decide to extend the suspension, and no such decision has been made yet, just to be clear, but should we decide to extend the suspension, if we need to unsuspend it, we can do that, with the drop of a hat. So I wouldn't get too focused on that for now. Our priority, as I have said every day this week, is to achieve an agreement in principle with the US. We remain ready to do that, and we await some indication from our American counterparts that they are ready to do the same.
In other words, let's cross that bridge if and when we get there. Yes, Kuhn, you have a follow-up.
Yeah, just quickly on any contacts, maybe is Commissioner Šefčovič planned to be meeting or calling with anybody? What about the President? Perhaps she's meeting or calling anyone today or this weekend?
I will let Paula speak on behalf of the President and on behalf of Commissioner Šefčovič. Last time I checked, which was very recently, no calls or meetings are currently foreseen. But as I have said on many occasions, that can change very quickly. So let's see what the afternoon and evening brings, but no major update for now.
Yeah. And the same applies to the President. So currently, at this minute in time, no contact foreseen, but indeed that could change any minute. Yes, Carl.
Yeah, condemning. I just would like to go back to the drop of a hat. So can you be, please, more specific? So can the trade ministers on Monday decide to unsuspend the countermeasures? And how would that work? Like, would the Commissioner Šefčovič need to propose to unsuspend the measures? And then when would they enter into force?
So the way this would work is, if we were to decide to do it, I have to be very clear that it's conditional tense. If we decide to do so, we would adopt it via an urgency procedure, we would publish the measures, and then the suspension would be approved ex post by our member states. This is standard procedure for this type of trade defence measure and is nothing unusual in that sense.
Okay. Razia.
Thank you. Razia Akoch, AFP News Agency. Olaf, I'm really sorry, but I really need you to explain it to me like you would explain it to your kids. Would, at midnight, Sunday to Monday, they would kick in, these counter-tariffs would enter into force, if I'm right, and then a decision could be made during the day to then unsuspend that? I just want to check that I've understood it correctly.
Yes.
I asked because some of us are thinking about how we'd break the news that the measures are in place, because technically that means at midnight, Monday, measures come into force.
There's still a lot of time between now and Monday.
Okay.
Midnight.
Is there any clarification that you could give of if there is, say that we've got a deal, but it comes from an announcement via Trump late at night, midnight? Is the EU, should we make sure that we're up at 1 a.m. as well, because von der Leyen will make a statement or even be in Washington? And just a quick thing, Mercosur was meant to be in the coming days a couple of weeks ago. I just wanted to check how Mercosur's doing. Thank you.
We're still on the coming days on Mercosur. On the rest, I think it's all speculative at this point in time, right? As I so said, we still have 3 days to go for that deadline that you mentioned, and a lot can happen by then. We've grown, in the meantime, used to things happening very quickly, or not, when it comes to this subject. So let's see where we are in the coming days. Finbar.
Thanks, Paula. Not to dramatically change the subject from Donald Trump, but can I ask about rare earths? Is there ongoing discussions with the Chinese about like unlocking the exports and getting rid of the export licenses? Can you confirm whether the EU has noticed an improvement in the situation? And is this something that could come up during the talks with, for example, EVP Ribera next week and her colleagues who are also in Beijing? Is rare earths expected to feature on the agenda?
Thanks for your question, Finbar. I can't provide, at this point at least, any assessment of whether the situation has improved. I can simply recall that this is an extraordinarily important and concerning issue for the EU. We have raised it with China repeatedly. You'll recall that it was discussed at length in the most recent meeting between Commissioner Šefčovič and Chinese Commerce Minister Wang Wentao. China indicated that it was willing to address the issue in a meaningful way, notably by looking at ways to speed up approvals for shipments to EU companies. To repeat, this is an issue of strategic importance for the EU. Our industries have made that very clear. So we remain in contact with China on it. We will follow up closely to see how any measures coming into force are implemented. And it's also important to note that, while we welcome that indication from China that a short-term solution can be found, our preference here is to find a longer-term systemic solution that would remove this issue and this economic and business risk for our companies.
Okay, and the questions to Olaf. To Olaf still? Yeah, go ahead.
Blaž Muhorčič with the Slovenian press agency. Just to be sure, on Monday you will have to prolong the suspension of the countermeasures, not unsuspend it, if I'm right, or...
Depends what happens in between now and the end of the day on Monday. Good. Still on Eddie. Still to Olaf.
Just to be really clear about it, if there's no deal, or if the US, increases tariffs on the EU, does the EU still have a plan to bring in those countermeasures that is still Plan A. Is it?
Thanks for your question, Eddie, but it was prefaced with two ifs, and we're not going to go into those levels of hypotheticals right now. I can assure you that we are prepared for all scenarios, as we have been preparing since the start of this year and even before, and we remain in close contact with our member states and our industry to ensure that whatever plan we go with, plan A, B, C, D or E, is the right one for the EU.
Good. And with this, we conclude on the questions to Olaf. We move on. Andy?
Andy Bounds, Financial Times. I had a question on migration. So the deal between France and the UK Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has said the Commission is very supportive of this deal. Is that the case? Thanks.
Marcus, this one is for you.
Thank you for the question, Andy. We are aware of the announcements by the UK and France. The rising number of migrants smuggled across the Channel is alarming, and it merits a robust response to deter dangerous journeys at one of the Union's external borders. Now, on the specific envisaged cooperation between France and the United Kingdom, the Commission will assess the concrete modalities of this cooperation. And of course, we continue to work with France and the UK, as well as other EU member states, to support solutions that are compatible with the spirit and the letter of EU law.
Yes, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just on the mechanics. So, as it stands, the French seem to be saying that a migrant returned from Britain will then be, under the Dublin system, returned to where they first entered the EU. I presume that's something that they could do anyway with these migrants in France. Like once they reach France, in theory, they could be sent back to the first country they entered the EU until the new migrant pact takes force. Is that correct?
So what we have now is an announcement and a political agreement in principle to have a pilot agreement. And once we know more about the substance and the form of that, we can tell you more about it. But we will look at this together with the UK and France. We will be working with all parties involved.
Okay. Questions still to Marcus? Yes, Nuruddin.
Is there any follow-up after the incident in Benghazi between the European Union and the relevant authorities in the city? Because we heard yesterday that Greece, Italy, and the European Commission or Austria, maybe they will look to another delegation to be sent another time to Libya. Do you have some detail about that? Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nuruddin. Indeed, you have seen the reports, and I can also confirm from here, in the margins of the meeting in Rome, President von der Leyen and the leaders of Greece, Italy, and Malta agreed to continue to engage with Libya and to pursue the Team Europe approach, including by resending the Team Europe delegation to Libya to continue the visit.
So indeed, this was the result and outcome of a quadrilateral meeting that took place yesterday in the margins of the Ukraine Recovery Conference. Yes, Nuruddin.
Benghazi is a part of Libya. Do you mean to engage with Libya? Do you mean the delegation will go to Benghazi? The European Union will deal with the relevant authorities there? Thank you.
I mean, the arrangements will have to be cut out, but the idea is to engage with actors on both sides, as we have done before.
Yeah. Okay, other questions to Marcus? I have one question online. Is it for Marcus? Joe Barnes?
Hi, folks. Yeah, Joe Barnes, the Daily Telegraph. Marcus, have you, or not you personally, but the European Commission received a legal text of the pilot migration pact put together by the UK and France, please?
Thanks for the question. I'm not aware of this.
Okay. Other questions to Marcus? No. Other topics? Yes, Christian.
Thanks, Paula. Christian with Ends Europe. It's a question from Balázs, I believe.
I was wondering if you can give a clarifying comment on the rejection of the internal review request on your new rules on access to documents that were adopted in December. And a second question on this, on the rules specifically. Can you clarify how this presumption under the rules on confidentiality for whole categories of documents like legal opinions, legal service opinions, and even exclusion of certain communication modes like text messages is compatible with the transparency requirements under the ORIS regulation?
Can you repeat the first part, Christian? Not sure I
Sure.
understood.
So you have rejected an internal review request on these new rules this week, I believe. So if you can give a clarifying comment on that.
Okay. This is news to me. All of you know more? A rejection of an internal review request. Christian, we'll look into it, okay, and get back to you. Other questions? No other questions. We have one there.
Maximilian Henning for Euractiv. This is a question for Thomas. This is a question about video games. The Commission yesterday published a call for evidence on a communication on video games, but took it down again today. Why? Also, is this related to the ongoing European Citizens Initiative Stop Killing Games? And if yes, do you think that a communication will be sufficient to achieve the goals of that initiative? Thank you.
Thomas.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Maximilian. The gaming industry, the video gaming industry in Europe is a growing industry. And if I recall well, around 50%, more than 50% of European citizens are actually actively playing in their daily lives video games. We are supporting that gaming industry already under Creative Europe with around 7 million per year, if I'm not mistaken. And more can, of course, be done. Why? Because we want a competitive European gaming industry. We also received calls from the Parliament and the Council in 2023 to move forward on our side with a strategy or a communication going in that sense. I can confirm today that preparatory work is ongoing into that direction. It's advancing well, but what was published yesterday was rather a technical glitch.
Okay. Yes, Maximilian, a follow-up?
Short follow-up, do you have any date for when the call for evidence or the communication will actually be published? Thank you.
Our goal is 2026.
Okay. Other questions to Thomas? Yes, Jan?
Hi, Gianvo Picelli, Bloomberg. My usual question about the AI office staffing. Is there any update regarding when we will have the head of unit for the AI safety unit, or should we expect the head of the AI office, Lucilla Scioli, to stay in that role for the foreseeable future?
Thanks, Jan. The AI office is really busy these days. You remember that there was a restructuring, also a reorganization at Pasteur College. Now we have an additional AI office unit in charge more of AI in the health sector. Now when it comes to the unit you're referring to, the post is currently still being filled by the director of the AI office, Lucia Scioli, and I don't have any timing on nor a name of potential replacement at this stage.
But the work is nonetheless being done. I think that's the message. That's the message. Okay, other questions to Thomas? Nope. Other topics? Noureddin.
Les États-Unis ont imposé des sanctions contre une des expertes des Nations Unies, Madame Francisca Albanese. Je voudrais savoir s'il y a une réaction de la part de l'Union européenne et quel pourrait être l'impact de telles sanctions sur la relation entre l'Union européenne et les équipes des enquêteurs des Nations Unies. Parce que peut-être que le processus des sanctions va continuer, commencer avec le tribunal pénal international et maintenant les experts des Nations Unies, etc., etc. Merci.
On avait conclu les questions relations extérieures, mais est-ce qu'on a des éléments là-dessus? Anita, I cannot understand. Tell us. You were coming back because Anwar had to leave precisely. We had concluded on the questions on external affairs, and he was not counting on further questions. So let's come back to that one, Noureddin. Other questions on other topics? I have one hand still from Tommaso online.
Yes, it's just a curiosity, if I may, because it's... forgive me for being boring and on insisting on the same topic. It's on UniCredit, Commerzbank, because some days ago, Olaf said that member states cannot block cross-border operations at their discretion, but the Minister of Finance of Germany seems not to be listening, because he said that he doesn't want UniCredit to buy Commerzbank. So I wonder, because, I mean, the Commission has made clear that towards Italy that the golden power has been used, might have been used in an improper way. I wonder if the Commission will be willing to raise its voice also towards Germany, even if, I mean, I know that Germany is more powerful than Italy, but anyway, I mean, UniCredit Commerzbank is considered a kind of litmus test for the banking union. So it might be important. Many thanks.
Thanks, Tommaso. I'm not totally sure I understood the premise of your question, but all I can say is that, you know, in any case of banking consolidation, we will examine it as we are required to do under the treaty, based on its own merits. So we're not talking about litmus tests, or we're not talking about, you know, one case having more prominence than another. We're simply talking about respect for the rules that our member states have all agreed to. So I hope that gives some answer to your question. If you want more specifics, ask now or maybe come back to us afterwards.
Okay. Good. Joe, I still see a hand up from you. You have a different question, Joe Barnes.
No, sorry, I was looking for a follow-up to Marcus, but it got missed. But if I can just text him if that's easier.
Yeah, okay, then let's do that. And finally then, we have Anwar back in the room, so maybe you can still take the question from Noureddin on the US sanctions, the US sanction against UN member of staff.
Merci Noureddin pour ta question. Je pense qu'elle a été adressée en français, si je ne me trompe pas, ou en anglais. Français?
Vas-y pour le français.
On va pour le français. Langue de travail et langue officielle, parfait. L'Union européenne soutient fermement le système des droits de l'homme des Nations unies et nous regrettons profondément la décision d'imposer des sanctions à Francesca Albanese, rapporteure spéciale des Nations unies sur les droits de l'homme dans les territoires palestiniens occupés. L'Union européenne continuera à soutenir les efforts visant à mener des enquêtes indépendantes sur les violations et les abus des droits de l'homme et les violations du droit international humanitaire, y compris celles qui peuvent être assimilées à des crimes internationaux. Et nous suivrons les implications de cette décision tout en continuant d'évaluer les mesures qui pourraient être prises par la suite.
Merci Anwar. Oui, in the back.
Yes, it's connected with this. Is there any progress on the blocking statutes on the for the sanctions against the ICC judges, among them Slovenian judge? If there is any progress, it's now more than a month since the sanctions were imposed. Thank you.
Thank you. In terms of the blocking statute, we are in constant exchange with member states, and the EU will be monitoring the implications of the executive order. This is what we can say at this stage.
Okay, good. Any other questions today? Yes, that was a question, Christian?
Well, so just to follow up on the previous one, I've sent the question by email to Olaf on the first question, but the second one perhaps you can answer on the new rules more generally. that were adopted in December. So I was wondering if you can clarify how you see these new rules being compatible with the transparency requirements under the Aarhus regulation, given that there are presumptions of confidentiality for whole new categories that could contain environmental information that should in principle be disclosed under the Aarhus regulations. So can you say anything on that?
Olaf, do you have more on that? So I think we'll have to come back on the whole. We'll get back to you, Christian. Good. I don't see further questions. With this, we come to the end of the midday. I wish you an eventless weekend. And keep in touch. Good afternoon.